Hey, I know some of you by now might be aware that our dear brother, Dr. Danny, is he is fighting some critical health challenges, and I'm going to hand it over to his brother of many years, the great Dr. Dan Diamond, in a second here. But I just want all of you to know I had a chance to connect with Danny this morning, and his sentiments are going to be expressed to all of you directly from him via a video that he shot for you. And I think Dan might say some things as well. I would love if you did, Dan. And I do want all of you to know that Dr. Danny's highest request was that we still have the conversation that we had planned today, which is around community. And what Dan and I spoke about earlier is that we will have that conversation, but it's going to have a very different spirit and meaning because of what has happened with Dr. Danny, which we'll share in just a second here. So I am still going to honor facilitating a conversation with all of you about our deepest learnings about healthy learning communities. We are still going to do that today, but as you will see in real time as we go through it, it's going to have a slightly different twist as a way of honoring what is going on with our brother, Dr. Danny. So, Dan Diamond, may I invite you to share, please?
Yeah, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
So he called me yesterday and said, "Hey, I got an emergency." I said, "Well, let's do a Zoom meeting. That's what we do." So we jumped on a Zoom meeting, and he said I was coaching a client today and I couldn't find my words. And I couldn't get the words out. And we talked about it for a bit. And I said, "Well, I think you probably need to head into the ER." Can I share my screen? I'm just going to play this.
Good to go.
And then I'd like to say a couple of things, assuming I can get my words out. Can you see that?
Yep, we got it.
Here we go. And hopefully you got sound that'll come through. Let me know if you don't.
Hi, Inner Circle.
You got sound?
Yeah.
I wish I was there with you right now. I'm in the hospital, and if I have word finding difficulty, that brought me in last night, and I came in last night, and I believe I have metastatic brain cancer, and it's taken me into a whole new world. I'm getting a biopsy at 2 today. I spoke with John and my brother Dan over here, just incredible love. And I am so determined to make meaning of this experience. I am so determined to make meaning of this experience. And I feel so blessed work that we've been doing together and our relationships and the love, that we're all stewarding together. So I shared with John that I am very determined to do the Awakening Conscious Leadership Deep Dive in December. And to the extent I can be present, I'm hoping that I can lead that. But I want to invite you as a community, as an inner circle community. If I can't do it, I sent John the agenda, I've sent the slides, I've sent the handout, so it's all ready to go. And I would just be honored, so honored, if I can't lead it, for you to all. This is a legacy that I want to leave in the world, and I would be so honored if you came together. As I'm mindful that you're meeting today with John to talk about what it means to be a real community. I would be so honored if you all gather together to steward this deep dive. You know, I'm hoping we can all do it together as a community. Word finding difficulty. Hum. I shared with my son Zach yesterday that the highest tribute he could pay me is to live a loving life. To live a loving life. And Dan just reminded me in the fractal of my mom, when I diagnosed with my mom with her cancer. On her deathbed, she actually came to the learning that her greatest purpose in life was to receive and give love. And I didn't make that connection until Dan reminded me when I passed that on to Zach. And that's the message, and that's Dan, the deepest message. Dan passes on this message of unstoppable love. And so we're all aligned in this. And this is, I feel so blessed to be part of the most loving community that is making a massive difference in the world. I mean, so the purpose of actually, you know, leading, you know, elevating conscious leadership in the world, and the heart of that is love. And so I just want you to know that I love each one of you, and I am so nourished knowing I feel loved by you. I feel loved by you, and that is the best medicine I could ask for in this moment. Lots of love.
So when I spoke with Danny this morning, he said one of his greatest concerns is he knows that there's going to be an outpouring of compassion, and he wants to be sure that that outpouring of compassion is not directed to him like in a funnel, but that it's showered on all of us, and that we take care of ourselves through this time, and that we take care of each other. Thanks.
Dan, thank you much. Alana, you'd like to say something?
Would it be okay if I took us through maybe a 3-minute meditation where we funnel our love into Dan and then it showers out through the whole community so that we could operate on top of this that I'm sure we're all feeling right now?
That would be great.
Okay with everybody? Yes, Dan? Yes, is that a yes, Dan? Okay, thanks. So feet on the ground, feel beautiful Mother Earth supporting us all. Breathe in energy up from Mother Earth into our bodies. Oh, breathe in your heart and smile as you think of how much you love Dan. Smile and raise your vibration, your coherence in your heart, thinking of a moment when you hugged Dan, listened to Dan, played with Dan, designed with Dan, heard Dan, was heard by Dan. And then I want you to imagine pulling energy from 1 trillion universes. 1 trillion universes, pulling it into our universe, pulling it into our galaxy, pulling it into our solar system, pulling it into Mother Gaia, give her a hug, and pulling it into the back of your heart. So it's filling you to the brim with unstoppable love. So you are filled, and then we're all together funneling this toward Dan, towards his beautiful brain and his beautiful body. Just all of this love pouring in from the highest vibration of appreciation and gratitude for him and love for him and care and kindness for him. Just pouring, pouring, pouring. and letting him receive all of that. Inviting him to receive that, receive. He's so generous, but right now, just dogpile him with so much love and so much healing and so much care and snuggles and tickles and ass slaps and all the rest of it until he just giggles in surrender and receives all of our healing love to the core, and that every cell in his body balances into absolute health, absolute health, absolute, absolute health. And from there, swirling around all of that love, unstoppable love, see Dan allowing it to fountain out around him and back to all of us like a web, like a wheel, so that we are all uplifted. We are all embodied with this unstoppable love. We are all lifted in appreciation. And from there, see it sprout again into all of your communities and all of your clients and all of your loved ones. So there's this beautiful web and circle and wheel of love that's infiltrating all of the exchange community, and then again out into all of the world, inspired by Dan, inspired by all of your unique geniuses, and just feeding the world, feeding the world. And may this energy, may we command this energy to continue to run with joy, with glee, unstoppable love, pouring through the universe, through all of us, healing Dan, uplifting all of our lives. And we don't need to try, we just choose it. We let it be easy. And then we see in our mind's eye a healthy Dan, a healthy community, healthy lives, a healthy world, a world of love. And then in your own way, you can say, and so it is, or namaste, or aho, or whatever word or action speaks to you. And so it is. Thank you.
Alana, thank you for that. Thank you. That was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much.
My honor.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to say or express or ask or bring forward? I just want to create that space.
I suppose, how might we be supportive toward him and his family? I know one of the things my church has done when people are sick or having surgeries or going through something is set up like a meal train, or, whether it's like a series of, like, we plan to send a note card or something, a note of encouragement to him. I guess, like, my mind automatically goes like, what's the practical thing we can do? So I don't know if there's a way to do something like that, but perhaps, and maybe Dr. Dan might have some insight on this, but if there's anything specifically that we might do that would be, I suppose, tangibly supportive or helpful.
Yeah, I think cards would be great. His wife is Susie, and he has a son named Zach and his son named Dill, which is short for Dylan or Dill Pickle, either way. But I think that would mean a lot to them. It's cool to them to see the impact that he has on all of us. It's, it's such a powerful impact, and that circles back around and encourages them. So I think that would be really helpful.
Do you have his address that you could put in the chat for us?
I do.
Or in the Inner Circle WhatsApp?
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Thank you.
You don't happen to have the spelling for either Susie, Zach, or Dylan, just in case?
Man, I can barely spell of.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not here for our spelling. Carry on.
It's a good thing. It's the most amazing thing to me is, as he's sharing this news with me, his biggest concern is how I'm going to take care of myself.
Rachel, I'm going to respond to your question. In addition to anybody sending any notes or expressions to Danny and his family. I think there's some things we can do inside the container of our conversation today that could actually really support Danny in a big way. And I'm going to tell you one of the answers right now, and it really becomes a question that I don't have all the answers to, but I'd love to invite all of you to consider this. Maybe we plug it right in to our frame for the day. But this deep dive coming up in 3 weeks or so, I don't know, about 3 weeks from now. This deep dive, before all this happened, already had an incredible, almost hard to overstate significance to Danny. And by the way, it had a significance to me in exchange. But this deep dive had a significance, and there's some things that, it might only be Dr. Dan Diamond here and myself that are aware of some of this, but there's been a plan for quite a while that this deep dive coming up, 2.5 days, guided by Danny around his work, and we've been getting a privileged experience of his deep dive spread over 6 weeks, with maybe just the exception of Renee. I know you just came into the Inner Circle, Renee, but Danny's changed all of our lives through these series of calls, and as you can probably tell. But this deep dive, we were in the design phases with Danny of how we would take the recordings, and it would become the vehicle for his work to spread into the world, the recordings of this deep dive. And you probably don't need me to elaborate on all the things that means. But, simple way of thinking about it is we had and still have a vision. And if anything, I think the vision might just get more exciting and stronger and more purpose driven. But there was a vision that this deep dive, as a gift to Danny, these videos would be turned into a course, which, by the way, benefits all of us. It benefits the whole ecosystem. But he was going to take these videos, and they would be the vehicle for his work to get shared in a massive, scalable way. Well, that's not going to change. The way the deep dive is led might change. And Dr. Danny shared with his brother Dan. He shared with me today. He said, whatever happens, he wanted to give us his blessing that with Dan's leadership, because if any of you don't know, Dan and Dan, they've taught side by side like brothers for a long time. But with Dan's leadership, with our support, the deep dive is going to happen no matter what. There's no point right now in us sitting here speculating as to what Danny's role will be in leading that or not. That's between him and the universe and all of our supportive energy right now. So Rachel,
funny thing last night, because he said, I got about a 99% chance this is cancer. And I said, yeah, and you got about a 1% chance that it's worms from eating sushi. And I'm going for the sushi worms, man, because they can get in your brain. And we laughed about it and thought, yeah, that'd be a fun one, wouldn't it? So stay tuned. Biopsies at 2 today. Ezra, you missed the video that I just showed. Danny Friedland's been diagnosed with metastatic brain cancer and is in the hospital.
So Rachel, your question of what we can do to support, I don't have the answers, but I have a question for all of you that we may or may not lean into today. And that is, how can we rally and bring our best selves and bring our best community to that deep dive? Because as all of you know, what's going to make those recordings magical, it's not just going to be the presentation of the content. The magic is going to be what emerges in real time. So how do we as the leadership team of that event, let me make that clear right now, the Inner Circle is the group that has the privilege and opportunity for us to be the leadership team of that event. Danny's asked us to play that role, and maybe we invite others. Maybe that's just something for this close-knit group. But I just want all of you to know that that's on my mind right now, is how do we rally the community around this deep dive, knowing that what it will do is, maybe has an importance for Danny and his family that before yesterday we didn't quite realize, right? Being able to carry his work in a way that could support his family. So that's an open question. And if all we did is just be ourselves and show up to that deep dive, I think it'll be magical. But if we can go, lean into that question for the next few weeks, if we can rally our community, it was already going to be very well attended, but I don't see any reason we shouldn't have more people at that event than any we've ever held. I was visioning that happening before yesterday. But now for me, it's a lot more important that we really get behind this deep dive. What I feel good about is that it's a deep dive that even if none of this was happening, it's something we in our community all need. That's the beautiful thing about this, is it's not just about supporting Danny. It's also the fact that his life's work happens to be so needed right now. So there's
he would say that's a fractal. And then talk to you about sunflowers. For realsies.
So I think that's the biggest way that I can think of that we can help. And maybe us leaning into that question on today's call could happen. There's another small way that we can all lean into Danny, which is 100% affirmatively going to be a part of what we cover today. So I can say that right now. I'll leave that out there. We'll get to it in a few minutes. Rachel, thanks for an important question. As Peter Block says, the most important ones are the embarrassingly obvious ones. And we got to start with those first. Like, what can we do for Danny? So thank you for raising that. Anybody else want to raise any just thoughts, anything you want to say or express? And no big deal if not at this time. I can move us right into our conversation, which will certainly circle back to Danny pretty quickly. But anyone else, anything they'd like to say or ask or express, you're more than welcome to.
I'd like to express two things, please.
Yeah, please, Joe.
One is I just want to honor Dr. Danny for the way that he reached out to me as my dad was passing away. It was remarkable the way that he embraced that experience, and just I could feel his energy and love and compassion over the phone. And I know Dr. Danny, but I've not spent significant time with him, and the way that he was there and the openness that he shared with and the space that he created for me and the acknowledgement, and even sent me a picture of me and my dad, it was quite something. And the second thing I just want to honor Dr. Danny for not just being someone who talks about conscious leadership, but literally shows up and just delivers it from all areas of life. And that's real leadership, is someone who can provide that space in the way that he did. It was remarkable. And then in regards to the address that's in the chat, if I were to look over the experience that my family had over the last few months, one of the ingredients or variables that played a significant role in us being able to heal was the number of cards that we received. And there was even one point in time where my dad was reading the cards, and he pulled me close one night, and my dad didn't like to talk about himself, but he said, "I'd love for you to read some of those cards. You'll learn a lot about me." And so I invite all of us to copy and paste that address and find time in our schedules to write a card to Danny and his family. I think that it would do more than we could ever imagine, especially if we wrote 20 or so of them collectively. Thanks.
Love that. Thanks, Chair. Love it. All right. Well, know this. If at any point any of you have anything you'd like to say or express that can be in support of Danny, his work, each other, you can unmute anytime. You're even welcome to hang out on this call without the mute on, as long as you don't have heavy construction in the background or a barking dog that we don't necessarily want to hear.
Hi, it's Dion. I'm back. I'm speechless, but I also, because I was studying this week to prepare for today, and just for preparing for getting his workout, I was, and if this can't be answered now, that's fine. But all that kept coming to my mind was, I wonder if he's planning to certify us in taking this work out to leaders. It's so profound and compelling, which I don't need to tell you guys. So that I would just like to put that there. And yeah, just my heart is very full right now. And I love all of you guys. It's hard to hear.
I can talk to Dan and Susie about that and get back with you. I think that's a great question, Dion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.
I can only imagine that if there is a group that Danny, and I'm not speaking for him, but only from many conversations, that if there's a group that he would want to invite to help imagine how that relationship could look, I got a pretty good feeling this is the group. And, you know, the interesting thing, and it's serendipitous, it's synchronicitous, or any other word that could work. But the degree to which Danny's work is all packaged so nicely is to an extent that the ability for somebody like one of us or all of us to go spread his work, it might be obvious, but maybe it's not, but it's almost like it's all done. It's almost like it's all ready to go. Obviously, it's Danny's work, and it's his, it's his vision and purpose in life's work to decide how he would like to see it follow through. But I love the fact that as we think, how can we support, we realize the beautiful relationship between the journey that he has brought us on, the work that we are all equipped to do with Exchange, and the potential and the possibility that we might be a group that might be able to help bring his work out as facilitators. And so, Dan, you can help me to carry that message to Danny. I have a feeling it'll make him smile. So thanks for raising that, Dion, as your hair blew in the wind. It was a good look. Awesome. Anything else? I'd love to just say thank you. Thank you to you, Dan Diamond, for being who you are for Dr. Danny. I know many of you know this. There's a couple of you who don't fully, have maybe not fully been aware, but Dr. Dan and Danny were brought together really in the most extraordinary way. Do you want to share, Dan, how you guys were brought together and what that flourished into? Because this is, before you share this, I just want all of you to think about this. This story to me is a symbol of one of the things, when you talk about community and who Exchange is, this is a story that is a North Star for what I would hope could come true for so many of you. I hope you don't mind me putting that on there, Dan. Dan, share. How did you guys get brought together?
Yeah, Danny was my parole officer for 3.5 years, and it made such a difference in my life. I just figured I got to laugh a little bit, you guys. The American Association for Physician Leadership put together a workshop um, for physician wellness, and they brought 4 or 5 of us together to put this thing on. And Danny and I were like, "Oh my gosh, our content goes just like this. It just folds in. It's amazing." And more importantly than that, our hearts were profoundly connected at that meeting. And we just went on to become very best friends. And then I think it was Michelle McQuaid or Jackie Stavros or somebody said, "Well, Diamond, you need to check out Leaf, aka Exchange, because I think you'd really find it helpful." So I looked it over, signed up, and then said, "Hey, Danny, I think you need to come to this thing." And that first day, we both walked in and sat next to Alana, which I don't know if you've ever had the privilege of sitting next to her in an in-person meeting. Um, I mean, it was such a loving experience that we looked at each other on the way out of the first day and said, "We just came home." So it was, and our content that we've developed over the next couple of years has just merged in, and then the concepts from Exchange integrate and fit in so well. We went from primarily speaking to now almost exclusively facilitating and watching people unlock. It's been phenomenally successful. So yeah, it was, I think God just brought us together and we fit. And it's such a blessing to me to have a brother that has, we share a good chunk of our hearts. I think when they opened me up a year ago to do my quadruple bypass, they saw Friedland's stuff in there. It was amazing. But yeah, and we really do both feel like this is home. This community is amazing. I went back to my pastors at my church and I said, "Hey, after 5 days being Exchange, I'm pretty sure that this community loves me more than you guys do." They're like, "Oh my gosh, Diamond, what are we gonna do with you?" Yeah.
Dan, thank you for sharing that. That's such a great story. And I hope it makes sense now when I share with all of you that I want for all of you that kind of relationship building within the Exchange, in your lives in general. But if it happens inside of Exchange, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Let's talk about community. And this will come back to Danny a couple times at least.